Alrighty, so welcome back, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Bulls podcast. My name is Corey. Forgive me, you guys, for yesterday's podcast. Sound quality wasn't the best, but let's get straight into the podcast for today. So, as we've all been made aware of for the last couple of days, Billy Donovan has decided to step down as the Chicago Bulls head coach. So, my curiosity got the best of me. Of course, we don't have any official names yet in regards to who's going to be the candidates to take over for Billy Donovan as the Chicago Bulls head coach. So my curiosity got the best of me. Uh, and what I did was I simply just did a Google search of who the Bulls could possibly be looking at as their potential next head coach. So AI came up with some answers, and those answers were as listed. Let me be careful here because I'm driving. All right. So the first option, in no particular order, Sam Cassell. Okay. Now, all the people that I'm going to mention, well, most of them are assistant coaches currently in the NBA. So the first one that popped up was Sam Cassell. The second one was Sean Sweeney, assistant coach with the San Antonio Spurs. The third one was Chris Quinn. He's an assistant with the Miami Heat. And then there were a couple wild card choices out there as well. One of these is controversial. Let's get straight into those. So the two wild card ones was John Shire, the current head coach of the Duke college team, and then the second one was Tom Thibodeau, Thibs. So as you guys know, if you guys are familiar with following my channel here, you know that I completely rock with Thibs. You know, Thibs was a great coach. I believe that if he was the coach of the Bulls right now, going into next year, I know that this team would be great. I know that this team would be better than this past season. You know, Thibs, fantastic coach, but let's not talk about him too much. Let's talk about these other options that are more realistic, I guess. I know a lot of people disagree with Thibs coming back to be the coach of the Bulls. So Sam Cassell, obviously off top, I think that that's the name that really stands out the most. Obviously, he's a seasoned veteran, spent many years in the NBA as a player. He's been an assistant in the NBA for many years now as well. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's been an assistant coach in the NBA for at least 10 plus years. So I'm thinking that with Sam Cassell's basketball experience, he seems like a pretty high. I mean, when he was a player, he seemed like he was a really high IQ NBA player. I can only assume that would kind of translate over into a head coaching position. So I don't know. I'm not all the way sold on Sam Cassell. I mean, you want to respect who he was as a player, you know, great point guard, high Q player, things like that. But I don't know. I don't know if I would say that I'm all the way sold on Sam Cassell, but we'll see. You know, now the other assistants, you know, the assistant with the San Antonio Spurs and with the Miami Heat, I'm not all the way sure about them either, to be honest with you. You know, I've got to do some more research and see what they're all about, see what kind of philosophy that they would bring to the table. I mean, maybe I should have looked that up before I made this podcast, right? Well, anyway, you know, now with John Shire, now this is somebody that, I mean, even though that's a wild card choice, and I think that would totally catch a lot of people by surprise, John Shire seems like he has a lot of intensity for the game. He seems like a great coach. I mean, he's led Duke to success the last couple of seasons. I mean, they didn't get the NCAA championship, but he's led the Duke men's team, college team, to a lot of success the last couple of years. You know, he's coached some great players, so he has that. He has those relationships with some players already, and then he has some slight NBA experience. You know, he got drafted. I believe who did he get drafted by? Miami Heat some years ago, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But he had some injuries, and he ended up never playing in the NBA. Great player, high IQ player, former Duke player, smart guy. You know, I think that he would be a good choice for the Chicago Bulls head coach. I don't know what you guys think about that, but let me know what you guys think about that in the comments here. Now, with Thibs, the reason why I like Thibs and the reason why I wouldn't oppose rehiring Thibs as the head coach of the Chicago Bulls is because we know what we're going to get with Thibs. We know we're going to get a no-nonsense, defensive-minded coach that's going to get the best out of each and every one of his players on the team. We know that we're going to get that. So that's why I will be rocking with the Bulls to rehire Thibs as the coach. I know a lot of people disagree. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. But I think that Thibs will be a fantastic coach. You know, and what this team needs. I mean, I tried to put it in my video yesterday. I was having some technical difficulties. It cut out on me, all this other stuff. Anyway, but as I mentioned in my video yesterday, they got cut off. The Bulls are known when the Bulls are a successful team. They're known to have a particular type of coach. Okay, so when you look at, well, let me explain this first. When you look at the different types of coaches that the Chicago Bulls have had, whenever they're successful, they all share two things in common. Either they're a very philosophical coach, like Phil Jackson was. He had a very philosophical approach to the game. Um, he had a very unique approach to the game. You don't really see that often. That's very rare that you see a coach like that. So, you know, Phil Jackson is pretty much a one of one. Okay. Now, if you're not a Phil Jackson type, if you're not all philosophical and things like that, the other type of coach that the Bulls have had success with in the history of the Chicago Bulls are hard-nosed coaches, defensive-minded coaches, no nonsense, next man up. I don't care how much money you're getting paid. If you ain't getting it done, you're going to the bench type coaches. So you look at Scott Skiles. Say what you want to say about him. Successful coach while he was here. I forgot why he got fired or stepped away or whatever. Okay. Tom Thibodeau, defensive-minded coach, no nonsense. Okay, we you know, with Thibs, a lot of times, I don't know if you guys remember this, but with Thibs, sometimes the Bulls would lose 2 games in a row. And you knew they weren't about to lose 3 in a row. You just knew it. And I forget what the streak was, but that persisted for quite some time. So for quite some time, the Bulls, they were only losing like 2 games in a row at most. And then after that, they would get back on track. They would get back to winning. They would get themselves together. Very defensive-minded teams, grinded-out teams, hard-working teams. So I know a lot of people say that Thibs ran his players into the ground and things like that. And I can kind of see what they mean. You know, I think he kind of needs to chill on that a little bit. I can definitely see that. But at the same time, though, I feel like all the players respected him. They may have had their disagreements with how he approached minutes and distributing playing time and things like that. And I get that. But I don't think that anyone had any problems outside of just the workload with Tom Thibodeau. So, you know, we won a lot of games under Tom Thibodeau, 50 games, 60 games. Even with Scott Skiles, you know, if I'm not mistaken, that's when we turned things around. We went from being the baby Bulls to now we're, you know, up and coming team or whatever. We're possibly going to make the playoffs. And we did make the playoffs under Scott Skiles. Okay. So any coach that we have like that, that's where we have our success at. And I think that whatever coach that we end up hiring, I think that they at least have to have that part to them. They have to be defensive minded. They have to be no nonsense to a certain extent. I'm not saying coming in, being the boss, taking over, and just being super aggressive or something like that. I'm not talking like that, but just coming in, setting the tone. Everybody knows what their job is. Everybody knows what their role is. If you don't fulfill that role, if you don't play up to par, then hey, next man up. You're going to the bench. It don't matter if you're making the most money on the team. Like, hey, okay, well, go sit on the bench because you're not ready. You're not producing. I get it, you know. So I feel like unless the coach kind of has that type of approach, you know, defensive minded, no nonsense, at least to a certain extent, and holds the players accountable. Okay, and then they also have to have a good game plan and things like that. You know, they have to have some type of offense. But I think what really gets looked over in today's NBA is defense. I just saw I didn't even watch the video, but I saw the clip on YouTube where I think it was who was it, Kendrick Perkins or Brian Windhorst. The video was about the Denver Nuggets not having a premier defender. Now, when you think about that, for the last couple of years, now we know Jokic is one of the best big men ever to play the game of basketball. Okay, and Jamal Murray, star player. They've got a lot of other contributing players on their team as well. There's no reason that the Denver Nuggets shouldn't be a title contender year in and year out. As long as they have Jokic on their team and Jamal Murray. That's just my opinion. That's my take on that. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Okay? But the reason why they're not in serious title contenders, I guess you would say, is because, yeah, they hit it on the head. ESPN did. They don't have a true premier defender. And every team has that. Every championship team has that historically throughout in the history of the NBA. You even look at in today's NBA where everybody's shooting 40, 50, 60 threes per game. Okay, so the champions were the OKC Thunder last year. Who's their premier defender? Alex Caruso, right? He's a beast on defense. You see where I'm going with this. So when you look at every championship team, they all have that premier defender on there. Even when the Lakers won it in the bubble, who did they have on the team? Alex Caruso, beast on the defensive end. Now, who won it before? OKC? Boston Celtics, right? Who was their premier defender? Goodness, I'm forgetting. I don't forgot who. They had somebody on that team that was the beast on defense. I think at least one or two people. I can assure you that it's just not coming to my mind right now. I make these episodes off the top of my head for the most part, so sometimes I forget certain players. But anyway, that's the type of approach that this new coach has to come in with, because if you want to build a team, especially a team full of young players, because that's going to be the Bulls' position here. Okay, they're going to have a lot of young players on the team. Modest Bazelis is still young. Josh Giddey is still young. They've got the number 9 and 15 pick in the draft so far. I mean, the draft lottery hasn't happened yet. Hopefully, we can move up to number 1 or 2. But anyway, so we've got a bunch more. We've got a bunch more of 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds coming in. Maybe we'll sign some veterans in free agency. So we're going to be a relatively young team for at least the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. Okay, so they need to make sure that whoever this coach is can develop players, can build relationships with players, can hold players accountable. Now, with Thibs, I know I mentioned him, but now with Thibs, you don't want the players to eventually drown him out or grow tired of him or just get tired of him being the way that he is. I get it. I get it. So hopefully, if they do rehire Thibs, hopefully he can reassess the way that he's done things in the past. Spread the minutes out more, and just do some fine tuning on his coaching a little bit. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I hope that whoever they hire has those attributes. I hope that they can just be a great coach, because that's what this team needs. Now a coach that we don't need, a type of coach, I would say. I don't have any particular names to throw out there, but a type of coach that we don't need is a coach that's just gonna let the players be free, go out there and run and gun, let them chuck up 40, 53s a game, throw alley-oops all game out, and that would be very exciting. I'm not gonna lie, that would be very exciting. I would like to go see that. I would love to go see an entertaining team like that that's shooting that's hitting a lot of threes, alley-oops, dunks, fast breaks. It's entertaining. I get it. That's part of the game. But in reality, those teams have a ceiling. Off the top of my mind, I can't think of a team that's ever been like that has won an NBA championship. Even when the Phoenix Suns were doing it in the early, like in the mid 2000s, Sean Marion, Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, you know what I'm saying? Like, very entertaining team. Back then they were shooting a lot of threes for that day and age in the NBA. A lot of fast breaks, a lot of dunks, alley-oops, and stuff like that. Now, they were a good team. They were always a playoff team. They always seemed to make it to like the second or third round of the playoffs, but they can never make it to the championship. They never won it. See what I'm saying? It's like they have a shelf life. Even the LA Clippers with Lob City. Great team, very entertaining. Probably one of the most entertaining teams ever. Jamal Crawford, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, man, DeAndre Jordan dunking on everybody. Great team, great highlight reel team, but they had a ceiling. They never won a championship. I think the furthest they went was the Western Conference Finals. So that's the type of coaching style that the Bulls don't need. Okay, they need somebody who can hold the players accountable, somebody who can take the game seriously, somebody who can be serious with defense, but also have a solid offensive game plan as well. And then another thing that the Bulls need. I'll tell you guys this story real quick. I'm glad I just thought about this. Now, the Bulls, I don't know who their athletic health director, whatever you call it, the people who help to prevent injuries on NBA teams. I forget what their title is. You guys help me out on that in the comments. Let me know what that's called. But whatever that title is, the Bulls need to make sure that person is doing the best that they can, because the Bulls, I mean, for the last, I want to say 10, 15 years, the Bulls have been suffering with injuries here and there. Derrick Rose was injured a lot of times. Joakim Noah was injured a lot of times. Even this past season, Josh Giddey was injured. We had a few injuries. Even Anthony Simons, and I'm not blaming it on the trainers for the Bulls or the people who look after those things. I'm not blaming it on them, but it's a common denominator here. This has been going on for like 10 plus years now, where we just have players just always injured for some reason. I'm like, what is going on? So anyway, back to the story I was about to tell you guys. So I remember I was in, and this is with an NBA coach. I talked to him in person. So I was in New Orleans. I was on vacation. And this was around the time that I think, it was Derrick Rose. If I'm not mistaken, I think Derrick Rose was still on the team. Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm in New Orleans. I forgot what year this was. But I'm in New Orleans on vacation, and I seen Alvin Gentry, Alvin Gentry, the former head coach. So I see him in the airport. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, cool. So I go shake his hand or whatever, we small talking. And I bring up that I'm from the Chicago area. And, we just talk about NBA basketball for a little bit. Cool guy. He had his wife with him. Very, very respectful and things like that. I appreciated him, taking the time out to just have a little small talk with me. He was a cool guy. Anyway, so I didn't even ask him, right? So I told him, I'm from the Chicago area. I'm rocking with the Bulls. The Bulls are my team. You know what he said? I kid you not. I kid you not. So he was real cool about it. Don't get me wrong. He didn't bash the Bulls. But he was like, he just kind of shook his head. He was like, they ain't never healthy, though. They always got injuries. I kid you not. That's what he told me. I was like, yeah, I don't know why all these injuries going on either. I forgot everybody that was on the squad. I forgot what year that was. I should have looked into this before I made this video. But like I said, I try to make these videos on the fly. I try to just go off the top of the dome, make it organic. But yeah, that's what he straight up told me. He was like, yeah, them Bulls, man, they got a squad. They got a squad. They got talent. They're a great team. They can't stay healthy, though. That's what Alvin Gentry straight up told me. And I'm like, yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, that's the truth, But yeah, cool experience talking to him. So the Bulls, they definitely need to prioritize, outside of coaching, they definitely need to prioritize conditioning, health, stretching, just players playing more games, just increasing their durability, also increasing their development. I feel like there's been a lot of players who the Bulls just let slip through the cracks, over the course of the last like 10 plus years. Players just slip through and they just seem to go undeveloped fully, and they end up going to other teams and taking off. This has been going on for a long time. This has been going on since Elton Brand. When the Bulls traded Elton Brand for Tyson Chandler on draft night, like 20-something years ago. Elton Brand goes to the Clippers. He ball out. He becomes an all-star player. Jamal Crawford. Great player on the Bulls. Very entertaining. What team did he get traded to first? I think he got traded to New York. He went there and started balling out. Every team he went to after that, he just balling out. Trying to see who else I can name. There's been a lot of other players that the Bulls used to have. They traded them. They let them go on free agency, whatever. And they just took off. And it's like, okay, why can't we do that? Why can't we develop our draft picks? You look at Patrick Williams. And I'm not blaming the Bulls for him, but it's like, that's just, Patrick Williams, Noah Essengay. Who are some more of our recent picks? Dalen Terry. Yeah, off the top of my mind, that's all I can think about. But you look at, you guys know what I'm talking about. Just a lot of our draft picks, what are we doing as far as development? So when Thibs was here, it seemed like he was great at that. It seemed like And I'm not saying that every player was just 100% great and playing up to par and fulfilling. I'm sorry, playing at their full potential, because that wasn't the case. That's never the case, But with Thibs, you saw that it was an obvious difference in what he was getting out of every player. Even when Brian Scalabrine came in, remember we'd be up by a lot of points, and Brian Scalabrine would come in, White Mamba, everybody making fun of him, laughing at him and stuff like that. But he'll be balling out. He'll be balling out. He'll be doing his thing. Everybody on the squad was doing their thing. People will laugh at John Lucas III. He got LeBron jumped over his whole head. Yeah, that was embarrassing. Like, what in the world? But he came in. He'll come in. He'll ball out. He'll do his thing. Keith Bogans, he wasn't much on offense, but he was a great defensive player. He came in, did his thing. Who else? The Bulls used to sign Mike James to a whole bunch of 10-day contracts. He'll come in, do his thing. Like, everybody came in and did their thing, and all of this took place under Thibs. So I think that Thibs is good. I don't know how he does it exactly, but I think Thibs is pretty good at getting the best out of every player on the team, every single last player. So it would be good to have a coach like that can develop players, be personable with the players, hold them to a high standard, and just get the most out of them. So the Bulls are in a great position now. They have a total reset going on, new coach, new vice president of basketball operations, new GM. So this is exciting times. I just hope that the Bulls make good choices. I just hope that even if it's a coach that I'm not thinking of, I just hope that whoever it is, that they have that type of mentality. That's all we ask for. I mean, I don't want to speak for every Bulls fan, but I think I'm right in saying, as a Bulls fan, all we really expect, I mean, of course, you want a championship, but you're not going to win one every single year. That's not going to happen. But all we ask is that you go out there, you give 100% effort, you play all 48 minutes of the game. You play with intensity, like Norm Van Leer used to say, on the pregame, way back in the day. Go out there and play with 48 minutes of intensity, okay? Be defensive minded. Play your role, Play hard. Don't be on that load management stuff. That's all we ask for. Just go out there and play your hardest, try to win every game. That's it. Go out there and hustle. Go out there and play hard, Be a blue collar, team. Or you could be a fancy team too. You can go out there and shoot a lot of threes and stuff, but don't just depend on a lot of threes, but then you don't have any defense, or your defense is subpar. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what ends up happening. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Who do you guys think the next head coach is going to be? Because, like I say, I haven't seen any official names yet. This is just according to AI, some random stuff that I googled on my phone, and those are the options that popped up. So, like I said, I'm interested in Sam Cassell, but I don't know what to expect really. I don't know. I like the John Shire idea. I like the Thibs idea best. And I watched some other Bulls podcasts on here, and a lot of people disagree. Like, man, no, do not rehire Thibs. Don't go back there. Like, I do not agree with that. Thibs was a great coach. In my opinion, Thibs is the second best coach in Chicago Bulls history. That's just my take on that. I don't know why you would not want to bring him back. I don't understand that take. I mean, I doubt that he would come back and be the exact same coach that he used to be. I highly doubt that. I'm pretty sure that he would fine-tune his coaching some more and come back with somewhat of a different approach. Still keep his identity, but have some type of different approach to his coaching style. So I'm rocking with Thibs. I wouldn't mind seeing him back. That's just me. I know it would be an improvement over Billy Donovan. Not that Billy Donovan was a terrible coach, because he wasn't. But with these young players that the Bulls have, and that they're going to continue to have for like the next 2 or 3 years at least, It would be very interesting to see Thibs in that role as a coach on a totally rebuilt team, starting from the bottom and going from there. I think that would be great. I think that would be great. And then also, now I forget which Chicago Bulls podcast I was listening to, but I was listening to one of them, and they made a point that I do agree with it, but at the same time, not all the way. But I guess I'm an old school thinker. I guess So what he mentioned was he was like, yeah, okay, the Bulls they need somebody to come in, develop. I'm paraphrasing. Need somebody to come in, set a good foundation with the players, get them going, get them developed, and things like that. Kind of like a shelf life type thing. Okay, this next coach, this is just going to be like a temporary type thing. Okay, come in for 3 to 5 years, develop the players, let the players get built up, let them become better, let them become even more familiar with the NBA game, work on their game, fine tune their skills and stuff like that. And then after that, you get a more serious coach. That's basically what he was saying. I'm paraphrasing. I can't quote him exactly, but I get that approach. But it's like again, I think old school. I guess I'm more of the mindset of okay, just get a coach in here that envisions building a team up eventually to the point where they become a playoff team. And just take it slow. Just take it one step at a time. Okay, build the team up. Okay, we won 31 games this year. Okay. I don't know what the team is going to look like next year. I don't know what draft pick we're going to get. I don't know what free agents we're going to sign. But I would just say this, like, look, okay, the coach next year, whoever it is, I would say a good aim is, okay, start at 35 to 40 wins. I think that's feasible. That this is without knowing what our roster is going to be next year. I have no clue. Okay. So start off there. And then the year after that, okay, we're going to be in the playoffs, top 6 seed, or at least play in. Okay. So on and so forth. Like this is a coach that's going to come in with that type of mindset, set up a time frame, I guess you would say. Okay, and the next, okay, you guys are hiring me as coach, and obviously I'm inheriting this very young team, this team that has been totally gutted pretty much. So what I'm envisioning is if I'm here for let's just say hypothetically, if I'm here for 5 to 7 years, my goal would be to make this Chicago Bulls team within that 5 to 7 year frame, or maybe that 3 to 5 year frame. I mean, that would be a lot sooner, obviously. I want to make them title contenders and eventually a championship team in this 3 to 5 year span, or this 5 to 7 year span. I think that's what the Bulls should do. Now, give them that 3 to 5 year window. Now, of course, if they're terrible, you got to make some decisions. Okay, do you fire the coach and get somebody else? If it just totally just explodes and doesn't work out like you think, then it's like, okay, now it's time to reassess things and make a change. But if things are trending up, if things are going great, of course, keep the coach. And I think in my personal opinion, I think that needs to be the Bulls' approach. Okay, again, I think old school minded. I don't really like the idea of having a new coach every 2 to 3 years and things like that. I don't know. I mean, I know it goes on a lot in the NBA right now. I think Billy Donovan was like tied for second place, with the most tenure as far as a head coach. I think Eric Spoelstra is number one, and then Billy Donovan at like 5 or 6 years. And that's really bad. It didn't used to be like that. You used to have coaches, 10 plus years, on a lot of teams, you know. Um, this new thing, though, this having coaches, for 2 3 years and stuff like that. I'm not used to that. I think it's like you don't get a team a chance to build and get used to and develop and become the best that they can be. It's like, okay, what do you expect in 2 to 3 years? I mean, what do you just gonna come in and coach somebody for 2 to 3 years, develop them up, and then hand them off to somebody else, and they're gonna take them to the next level? Like, nah, you rarely see that in the NBA. You very rarely see that. Okay. But anyway, I just think that this next coach, I think that it would be good if his mindset was, okay, the Bulls, they have me as a candidate to coach their team. Here's my game plan. I know this first year is going to be kind of rocky. Second year, Hopefully we can make to the play-in playoffs, so on and so forth, you know. But here's my game plan. I see this team being a title contender in X amount of years. I see this team winning a championship if all goes well with my vision in the next X amount of years. I don't know how the conversations go behind the scenes in the NBA. I would love to see that, but I'm thinking if I'm given that opportunity, like, and I'm pretty sure if I asked you, like, hey, you watching this video right now, if you were given the opportunity to sell yourself as the next Chicago Bulls coach, what would you tell them? And I'm assuming it would be something to that extent, like, okay, that first year, look, I don't know what to expect. I don't know. I'm gonna try my best, whatever. You know, you're gonna be professional, just like you're approaching a job or something like that. You know, just like you would sell yourself to a job, like, you know, well, not sell yourself, but you know what I mean. You know, pitch. You know, tell them why you're a good candidate for the job. Tell them why you are the one for the job. You know what I mean? So I'm assuming that you would say, okay, well, my ultimate goal is to win a championship as the head coach of this team and lead this team to a championship. You know, work with management, communicate with ownership. We all come together on, and be in agreement and get this done. You know, get this team to a championship. I know that would be my approach. It wouldn't be on some well, I'm just going to develop these players. And that's pretty much it. You know, that's just me. You know. So we'll see what the Bulls do. I don't want to keep going on and on. I don't want to make this video too long. It's already way longer than what I expected. But thank you guys for tuning in. I think that was all I had to say. I think that's it. But anyway, feel free to subscribe. Shout outs to all of my subscribers that have subscribed already. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for continuing to rock with me. This is my third day in a row, you guys. Third day in a row. So I'm being consistent. I plan on being consistent even more in the future and just keeping this going. I'm trying to build my subscribers up, build this page up. So feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment, all those good things. I will reply to your comment. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'm headed to the gym. About to get in some weightlifting, some cardio, do my thing with that. Get this workout in. Y'all know it's easier said than done because I sure don't feel like going here, but I'm going to get it done anyway. Trying to stay healthy. Peace out. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Let's Talk Bulls podcast. My name is Corey. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button though. Peace out. Have a good one.